5 men went on a fishing trip from Gulf Harbour, and they planned to visit the Great Barrier Island. However, on getting to Cecilia Sudden Bay, 2 of the men decided to dive for crayfish underwater, while the rest remained looking for squid on the boat. Half an hour later, one of the 2 divers surfaced, only for him to realize the other was missing. Cecilia Sudden Bay is a lovely bay situated in the Auckland region of New Zealand. A bay is a special kind of water body that is partially enclosed by land. Bays are quite interesting because they have wider openings than a gulf, but they are smaller than big, vast seas. One remarkable thing about bays, like Cecilia Sudden Bay, is that their waters tend to be quite peaceful and calm. That's why bays are often used as natural harbors for boats and ships to anchor safely. Not only that, but they also become favorite spots for people to have fun and engage in recreational activities. The Auckland region, where Cecilia Sudden Bay is, finds its home in the North Island of New Zealand, and it is renowned for its breathtaking natural landscapes and stunning coastal beauty. Auckland region is also quite special because it encompasses the largest urban area in the entire country, which is the city of Auckland. But what makes it truly extraordinary is its proximity to the Pacific Ocean. The region is encircled by the mighty Pacific, offering countless bays, harbors, and beaches for everyone to explore and enjoy. Igor Petrenko, who was 31 years old and originally from Ukraine, came to New Zealand 14 years ago. He studied web design and worked on various media, graphic, and video projects. He was known for being physically fit and active, regularly going to the gym and participating in activities like kickboxing, acrobatics, and dancing. About 2.5 years before his death, he started diving and would spend most weekends diving and fishing. Minglem Sabayev, also known as Ginas, was 55 years old and moved to New Zealand from Russia with his wife and 3 children a decade ago. He worked as a roof painter and was considered a healthy, experienced diver. He would train at the swimming pool 3 times a week, and during the winter, he took part in ski touring competitions in Europe. In the warmer months, he would go diving every weekend. On March 5, 2016, around 7:30 p.m., which was about 2 hours after high tide, Igor Petrenko and Minglem Sabayev, along with 3 other men named Daniel Thomas, Eugene Boutskik, and Maxim Vasiliev, set off from Gulf Harbour in Wangaparoa on a 26-foot fishing boat called Levadia. The boat belonged to Maxim Vasiliev, one of the group members. They were heading to Great Barrier Island for a fishing trip. They planned to spend a few days near the island, initially staying on the boat and then moving to a local backpacker lodge before returning to Auckland. During their journey, they made a brief stop at Shearer's Rock, located behind Tiritiri Matangi Island. It was there that Igor and Minglem, who had recently become acquainted, decided to go spearfishing while wearing their freediving gear. Without delay, Igor quickly caught a kingfish, and after that, they returned to the boat to continue their journey toward Great Barrier Island. While they were approximately halfway to their intended destination, the group made a stop at a reef to fish for snapper. They spent about 30 minutes fishing, except for Maxim, who was in charge of piloting the boat. During this time, the friends shared about 1.5 bottles of wine. At around 9 p.m., they decided to continue their journey toward Trifina Harbour and spend the night there. When they arrived at about 10 p.m., the group decided to search for crayfish in the nearby Cecilia Sudden Bay. After anchoring the boat and securing it to a crate pot about 32 feet away from shore, Igor and Daniel dove into the water. The water conditions were favorable, with clear water and no strong currents or rips, and the weather was good, with no wind. Despite the darkness, visibility was good due to the presence of the moon and clear skies. Igor was equipped with a freediving wetsuit, gloves, fins, a mask, and a torch. Meanwhile, Minglem, Maxim, and Eugene remained on the boat, engaged in searching for squid. Around 30 minutes later, Daniel indicated to Igor that he was heading back to the boat, assuming Igor would follow suit. However, approximately 10 minutes after Daniel had returned to the boat, The group realized they hadn't heard from Igor and hadn't seen the light from his torch. Concerned, they immediately untied the boat and initiated a search. Within moments, they spotted what seemed to be the illumination of a torch coming from the seabed. This raised alarm bells for Maxime, who had swum with Igor earlier. He instructed Daniel to investigate since he had experience swimming with Igor. Daniel entered the water and made several unsuccessful attempts to reach the bottom, despite seeing a shadow on the seabed that he believed to be Igor. He had to return to the boat and inform the group that he couldn't dive deep enough to confirm. At that point, Gina instructed the group to wait, expressing his belief that it had been more than 5 minutes and Igor might already be deceased. He advised them to proceed cautiously. Gina then prepared himself by wearing a wetsuit and a mask, excluding the use of snorkel and fins. He entered the water intending to dive to the seabed. Unfortunately, his initial 2 attempts were unsuccessful, and he had to return to the boat, informing the others that he could see Igor but couldn't reach him. Feeling determined, Gina decided to put on his weight belt and make 2 more attempts. During his second try, those aboard the boat observed Gina's torch moving in a spiraling motion toward the seabed before coming to a halt near the location of the first torch. Suddenly, Gina started descending rapidly, as if being pulled by a strong current into a hole, and at that moment he never resurfaced, causing the rest of the group to panic intensely. The group was in a state of panic as they desperately attempted to call emergency services at 111, but they struggled to get a good reception. They decided to sail back towards Gulf Harbour in the hopes of better connectivity. Eventually, around 12:30 a.m., Daniel managed to establish contact with emergency services. He provided them with the precise GPS location of their previous whereabouts, and a search operation was initiated. Around 2:30 p.m., members of the Police National Dive Squad discovered the bodies of both men. The tragic discovery occurred in approximately 29 feet of water, and the bodies positioned about 16 feet apart. Coroner Catherine Grigg conducted an official inquiry, known as an inquest, into the deaths of the 2 men. The investigation was led by Constable Ben Filiata from the Police National Dive Squad. Following their tragic passing, a thorough examination of the equipment belonging to both men was conducted. Surprisingly, the equipment was found to be in excellent condition. However, it was discovered that the weight of their respective weight belts was excessively high. Weight belts are typically worn by divers to counterbalance the positive buoyancy caused by the diving equipment and the diver's body composition. Constable Ben explained that the excessive weight carried by the divers caused them to heavily rely on their physical exertion to reach and stay on the water's surface. This excessive weight resulted in negative buoyancy, which placed a significant physical strain on the divers. The additional weight burden required considerable physical effort to maneuver while swimming on the surface. This examination confirmed that the quick-release mechanisms on both men's weight belts were functioning properly. However, Ben could not determine why the divers did not remove their belts. He suggested that Igor may have experienced panic and become overwhelmed, leading him to forget to ditch the belt. Ben also mentioned the possibility of shallow water blackout, which occurs when the brain's oxygen supply is reduced, as a potential contributing factor in Igor's death. Dr. Diane Vertes conducted a postmortem examination on Minglem, determining that the cause of his death was drowning. The excessive weight on his belt likely contributed to a buoyancy problem. Furthermore, his consumption of alcohol may have impaired his judgment and swimming abilities, potentially exacerbating the situation. Therefore, dear divers, to ensure safety during diving activities, several recommendations should be followed. These include maintaining visual contact with a submerged diver until they resurface and remain on the surface for at least 1 minute. Freedivers should consistently assess and adjust their weight according to the specific diving conditions. They should also be marked or connected to a surface float to indicate their approximate position underwater. enabling a rescue diver to locate them if necessary. The float can also serve as a means to retrieve a diver from the surface. Additionally, it is advised not to consume alcohol within 8 hours before diving. We would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, take a dive on the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell icon so you get notified when we come back with another exciting diving story.